All right, here we are. Happy Friday morning, mid-morning, noon. Lily, I'm so excited to have you join me today. Tell the people who don't know you, crazy living under a rock, people who you are and what you do.
I am so happy to be here, Lucy. I'm Lily Schurra. I am Senior Commercial Counsel at Sourcegraph. It's a really cool AI coding company. We've got this agentic AI product that's making my life easier and making developers' lives easier. It's really cool. So I'm there doing commercial work, general legal work, and quite a bit of legal ops work, which has been fun. My background is all over the place in contracting and CLM. I've done a lot of work with ILG, which has been amazing. And I'm excited to be here to talk CLM today. My little passion, my favorite thing to talk about.
I know. I love finding other crazy people like me. We can yap about this all day. So, okay, let's start with what you described your job casually as I'm a commercial lawyer and I do legal ops. Those are two jobs. One is clearly a full-time job, and then the other can clearly be a full-time job. The ops, as we know, morphs depending on kind of the GC's vision and priorities. But tell us a little bit about how do you balance the day, or what comes first?
Well, so I think the reality is the commercial work always has to come first, right? It's just when you're in a role like this and you don't have a dedicated legal ops role, that's the revenue that's driving the business. So those contracts will always take priority. So I basically just set up my day based on like prioritizing the contracting work and then chipping away at legal ops projects that I have that I prioritized by need, really. And I've had to the reality is I have a clear challenge as a human being with getting too excited about too many things and struggling to prioritize and strategize in some cases. But I think when we're a legal team of three. When you're a small legal team and you don't have a lot of resources, you have to really look at where you are from a contracting process today, where you want to be, and what's really critical to get working on now to make your lives better, and what can kind of wait.
Yeah. So would you say your ops work is focused on the commercial contracting side of ops, or okay, there's the general everybody, and by the way, legal ops doesn't look the same at two places. I mean, the profession and the description of that role has certainly evolved in the last, I'd say, probably 8 to 10 years. In many ways, exploded kind of onto the scene, which has been great. But what I'm noticing is it's certainly still the remit of that role looks different everywhere. So you can have a director of legal ops, let's say. It can look completely different on what they're spending their day jobs. I mean, look, the top pain points are the same that we see over and over again. Getting spend under control. So for those who have small legal teams, you're not alone if you're struggling with these two kind of beastly problems, which typically fall into the spend management side of law firms and spending and how and to control that. And the other one seems to be contracts. I'm just gonna say it's like a problem everybody has. So Lily, tips and thoughts for the small law department legal team, like the small law department like you're in. How do you tackle commercial contracting without the big infrastructure of the big PM office and the big IT team and the big, like, all the big stuff? How do you do it on your own?
Now, it's something I'm still, to be honest, I'm still working on every day as I take on these various projects to figure out the best way to do it. But I think you really have to look at, because the reality is when you are a small legal team, whether you're one person or a few people, you're going to have a lot of areas for improvement you see for your legal team. And contracting, like you said, contracting and spend are going to come up first. I've always had these kind of combined roles when I've been in-house, where contracting comes up first, and then we move to spend, and then we move to something else just based on priority. When it comes to your contracting, I always like to approach it from a process understanding, and this is something we did together at ILG too, which is really, I'm a visual person. I like to map it out. What is the exact process today? Who's involved? Where are our pain points? How can we identify those? And what are reasonable things that we can tackle today to make some quick wins? And today might mean 3 months, might mean 6 months, but at least gets you into a place where contracting is better. And then what's the long-term strategy? What are the long-term projects you need to work on? And how can you reasonably tackle those? So I'm always looking at things from a phased approach. And those phases always include, what can I do by myself? Yes. What can I do with the support of my team? And then where do I need to draw other people in? Because the reality is, once you start involving a lot of other teams, which you will have to.
You have to, yeah.
But once you start doing it, it becomes a much grander project than sometimes you're ready for. So if you can tackle the early stuff, those quick wins first, you're going to be in a better place that makes that larger project successful too.
I love everything you're saying. Love, love, love. So phase, of course, process. Like what is the process? How are things working today? We know that is still what you have to do first. Doesn't matter what tech anybody's excited about without understanding the process. We know that tech will not be helpful or successful implementation. And then you said phases, right? Think about things in phases. Absolutely love that. And there's even so many ways to think about phases. There could be the phases of the contracting life cycle where you're like, okay, I'm dealing with all these commercial contracts. I just want to clean up intake. I just want to know that all the contracts are at least coming to me in one funnel. They could still be just as ugly and just as messy, and I don't know where they're coming from or from whom, but I want to capture them in one place so that you can have that intake be clean and clear. So that's like phases of the life cycle. You could do phases in terms of types of contracts. I'm only going to start with NDAs. That is phase 1 of my contracting improvement journey, right? That's another way to just, I think, the chunks and the pieces. But I love what you said about what I'm going to call these, like, I don't know, layers of influence, like the little, little circles in the Venn diagram. And like, but these are all kind of inside of each other. And you're saying, hey, what can I change that I control? I love that. I think so many people get overwhelmed with contracting, like, we need to overhaul this thing. And I'm kind of going, yeah, but I still see you print contracts and use a red pen. So we're gonna start with you, my friend. So that's what you're kind of trying to start with, what you can control, and then your team, and then maybe the legal team a little broader, and then maybe it's the enterprise or parts of the enterprise, right?
Absolutely.
I
think it's powerful too when you take on that individual ownership. You will eventually hit a phase where you need buy-in from someone or multiple someones.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to get buy-in if you say, I'm devoted to this. I'm passionate about it. Here's what I've done. Here's what I can do by myself. And I've come to you because I've hit that wall. Like I can't go further on my own. And then they see some success. They see some benefit of like those efforts you've put in on your own.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to do that, I think, than coming to, say, a leadership team or whomever, to a GC and asking for support on a major project that has seen no progress, no development, no real in-depth analysis. Because I think a lot of times people will just say, we need a CLM as an example.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Building a business case is a lot easier if you have some success behind even a minor thing, like you're no longer printing things out and working on them with a red pen. Like even those little steps can make it easier to get buy-in.
Or you started saving documents in the cloud and sharing links with your internal stakeholders. I mean, anything that kind of, proves internal progress, I think is key. And that's how you win sponsors along the way. You have to have that, right? Nobody can do this on their own, and you need to have strong sponsorship. And that is one of the core principles that we find is just forgotten. It's kind of overlooked, or somebody's like, oh, we've got so-and-so support. It's like a quiet, passive support, and you're still a little bit on your own. So at least to be able to have that proof in the pudding that you've done, I think goes a long way. So I love to check in on these morning, on my little Friday morning chats to see how long it takes before somebody, brings up AI. And I have to say, in your case, it was fake because you brought it up in the context of your company, which is an AI company. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, does that count? Does it not count? Or when were we going to bring up, AI in contracting or AI for contracting? I mean, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I don't even pretend it isn't crazy. I think we as consultants are, we're looked to for, answers. I think the first thing we have to all honestly say is nobody's got answers yet. Nobody knows where this thing's going to go. Can we all just admit that we are exploring together? But so you're in an AI company and you're using it for yourself. So tell us all about that. What's that like, being inside of an AI company, using it for yourself?
It's so cool. I could talk about this all day. You keep asking me questions I could talk about all day, Lucy, and I'm having to shorten my answers.
The floor is yours.
So I think being a part of an AI company on the first hand is super cool. I'm really interested in what we're doing. So we've built an agentic coding tool that you can just ask it. I could say like, hey, I want a website for my daughter's birthday party. how do I build that? How do I launch it? Walk me through it in natural language, and it will build it for me. It will walk me through everything I need to do.
We hear this nonsense all the time, Lily. It just can't be that easy.
It is so easy. And of course, as soon as I saw it, because it's recently launched in June, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this has to be applied to legal needs in some way, whether it's through, I mean, that's not what this company is. It's not a legal focused company, but the application of capabilities like this, it's hard not to immediately take it to the legal context. So I think supporting a company like this is really interesting to me from a contracts perspective, because I'm really digging in on this analysis of what are the appropriate terms of service for a product that thinks for itself, builds for itself. You know, what is the real risk here? Like how it's just, to me, it's so much different than like a standard, even just like a chat bot, you know, be asking it to do something, asking it to take instructions and then complete a behavior is very interesting to me. And it's been a unique thought process and thought challenge to be able to work on those terms of service, for example, and work on those negotiations. On the personal side of things, and I say personal from a professional lens, I didn't really use a good word there.
Although the birthday party was a great example. I always tell our clients, I'm like, do you even use AI for anything before jumping into changing your day job with it? They're like, well, not really. I'm like, go plan a trip. Go hop on your favorite ChatGPT, whatever you've got available, and plan a trip first, you know, or summarize an article, or just to start feeling it a little bit. But anyway, so you mean personal.
That's a good point. I think it's so important. So for me as individually, I don't use AI a lot, or I didn't use AI a lot in my work until I started here. And the AI I use is actually our internal tool. And so what I've done is, because I struggle, right? I'm a lawyer. I'm technical enough to have fun and build things like a website for my daughter's birthday party because it's fun. Or to understand enough of the context in a negotiation to feel out the risk a little bit. But I often have to rely on very technical people like our engineering team, our product team, to ask them questions as negotiations are coming through. And I started getting all these questions on, because this product is different, because it functions differently from like a standard SaaS tool. How does it handle data in this way? What are your retention policies? How does, XYZ work? And I wonder if I can ask the product about itself. And that has been really cool. So I can direct it to its own code base, its documentation. I can direct it to various like Slack channels with our product team. Has anyone asked this question before? Here's a specific question. What information don't I have? And how can I answer this effectively for the customer? And it gives me the context. If I still have to go to my product team, I want to be able to do that. But at least now I can say, instead of saying like, hi, I don't know anything, can you help me? I can give it more context. And to me, that's really powerful, because you can use AI for that for outside counsel, for example. Instead of just sending them something to review, just here's my specific question. Like, think of the cost savings in something like that. I just think that
is it like a little prep tool, a trusted assistant, is what I say. Like not completely trusted assistant, but like a really solid, smart, well-intended, though sometimes a little sneaky assistant is what I'm discovering. I'm like, where'd you get that from? Like, we use it and we're like, where did it pull this from? Oh,
sources
first. Did it just make this up? So there's certainly that, but it's here to stay, right? I mean, it's
absolutely. Yeah. And I think getting yourself to a place where you can use it for that kind of first step and start to analyze things, help you analyze things, I think that's really powerful. I also have been using this tool in particular, and I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn about this actually, to start building legal tech type capabilities for myself. Like our company uses Slack. And so I built a Slack bot to help me understand my tasks. Right. Instead of Slack.
So I remember Slack has its own Slack bot, and it used to just annoy me. Hi, I'm your Slack bot. I'm like, why are you here? Don't talk to me. You don't know what like I never dealt with it. Sorry, Slack, but I never liked that. So tell me what your Slack bot does. And this bot was built natively in your kind of company's AI solution, but it's just LLM.
So I used the AI solution to help me build it in Slack. So it's my own Slack.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a little developer assistant.
Exactly. So I've tried the Slack to do bots and I don't like them. So, and the reason why I don't like them is because I have specific things I care about as a lawyer. Like what, if I'm working on contracts, can I have sub categories that say that there's some sort of risk assigned here, so that when I look at quarterly, how many contracts I looked at that had this kind of risk to it, like how can I do that analysis really quickly? Yeah. And granted, I'm like days into this. This is not a this is not a driving thing.
Hot off the presses. You're hearing it first, everybody. Okay.
Exactly. So basically, I've created a task command where anywhere in any of our company channels that something comes up that either has my name or maybe it uses a keyword I care about or I think I should be involved in it, I can hit create task and it will go to a DM between me and this bot, outline all my tasks, all the categories I care about, show me timelines, show me risks, just based on what I've told AMP, this product of my company's, to help me build. And then AMP talked me through building it in Slack. So I think, Lucy, you and I have talked for years at this point about the power of leveraging the tools you have. Like I'm in a great position because this is a tool I have that I wouldn't have otherwise thought to access for myself. But it just makes me think like how many people could benefit from something like this with, that are receiving things through like a legal mailbox, right? And that we have just so many people who get, there are 15 lawyers on a legal mailbox that are all looking at it at the same time and letting each other know when they pick it up. Like that gets messy, right? And to be able to support some of that, we're talking about those quick wins, like a triage, an intake, something even small that takes that manual pressure off. I mean, that saves over time, that saves hours and hours. And so I just think
that's a huge win. And I want to also give a shout out and a kudos to those legal teams who even have a mailbox. Let's be honest.
Totally.
That's already progress, and I'm not being flippant about this. This is it's a very tedious manual job of the intake of many contracts all throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the months, keeping up with all these moving negotiations that are in different phases and stages. And the fact that you even have a shared mailbox so that you can share the workload and or have coverage during vacations or reassign and realign based on responsibility areas. Any of that is already progress. And I think that's a great example, Lily, where I think AI can be a little hyper boost. And I think that's really let's talk about where AI is working and helping really substantively make an impact in the contracting life cycle, because we try to break everything down. You can't tackle contracting with AI. That's a ridiculous mission. It will not be solved with slapping in some AI thing on top of contracting, which we know are a complex series of processes and tools and people and departments and artifacts. Let's talk about where you think AI is making the biggest positive impact right now. Contracting.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to cheat and answer this question a little bit on where I think it could make the most positive impact.
A hopeful, positive view.
I was going to say, I'm not sure I have the best pulse on where it is today, but I think intake is a really powerful one. I think any sort of like approval workflows, like AI could be great for automating a workflow. It's just a matter of like how you build that process. And I think
let's not gloss over how amazing AI can be depending on how you design the process. That little caveat, that's that
literally critical. Yes. Literally critical. But in something at there's things that are very simple, right? Where you're like, oh, in this particular case where this one concept comes up, I want something to be triggered. Like there are ways that can happen. I just am, not super tied into how that's happening. I think and I know we'll get here, where I hear people care most about it is redlining.
I know.
And I don't believe it's working there.
No, can we just let's just cut to the chase on that one. So that is right now the feverish activity, specifically around redlining support with AI. So I was an advisor to a company that was called Law Geeks. They've morphed over time, but that was in circa 2014. I mean, I'm looking at when they started, and then I connected with them about 2018. So we're talking about.
I was a Law Geeks user in 2019. So that's
right? Yeah. We were one of the first, and we know that the reality is that, of course, there's a lot of human oversight, and that was true. And it was kind of like, oh, well, yes, we've got this AI redlining tool, but there's this whole group of lawyers that have to still oversee. And that was kind of part of a service offering. And it was interesting looking back. Of course, I think they were ahead of their time because lawyers simply weren't ready to embrace that yet, or to let go and rely on somebody else's humans to do it. And I think now what's happening is AI redlining has now come out a little bit and said, yeah, it's still here. The AI's of course gotten better. We'll talk about the tech in a second, but now it's almost hey, you do know human oversight is required, and everybody's okay with that, hearing that now, which I think is already one positive transformation that I've seen. It's like,
Absolutely.
It was poo-pooed. Well, if you're not AI, why do you need all these people? Because that is the nature of how this type of technology works, certainly 18 years ago. Now let's fast forward to today. We know the CLM tech market, CLM systems have exploded, right? It's just that started around COVID time, exploded. I used to know every system by name. Now we can hardly keep up with it. And then, like AI rammed itself into this list of CLM tech companies, which were already in the 100 plus, hundreds of contracting related tools that are all still touching the words inside the four corners. So redline, review, extraction, editing, changing, but like living inside the four corners, not the operational stuff, right? The workflow, the approval, the intake. So, we always like to put two buckets of tech. I'm like, are you looking inside the four corners or outside the four corners? I'm with you in that. I'm just going to say it, and I lots of friends in this space, friends and family that live in this space, but I think this one it's problematic. I think the promises right now are so hyped and high, and that technically it can do things, but that result, that output that is created, is so still subpar in that it can't go to the counterparty, not even close to it. So that amount of human oversight is still pretty intense. Not to mention that thinking about the future training and why it didn't work, and just like really to me, it's that the crafting of words on paper just doesn't come out right. The words are slammed into some weird spot, and you're like, I don't know. What have you seen? I know that you're in a different world now, living it and breathing it inside. But what are you seeing out there? Why don't you think it's working? I know I've got plenty of reasons, but
so I've seen. Yeah, I also have a bunch of friends in this space. I think the thing they're trying to solve for, the goal, the overall benefit, like the ideas are so beautiful. The hope is there. Like I don't at all mean to take away from that.
Right.
But I've seen so many people treat it as if, you just upload your contract or you send it to this thing and then you receive your edits. And I think that full scale redline like a lawyer approach is just the wrong. I don't think we're there. And so where I actually think we are, where I think it can help, and again, I say that very carefully, like where I think it can help is if you are the individual lawyer who is reviewing the contract, or the contracts manager, whomever reviewing the contract, and there's a specific clause that you're not sure about, and you want more context on what industry standard is, and you want to analyze various options for how to redline it. Just like I said, with like specific questions to your product team, your outside counsel, like that AI can do pretty well, not amazingly. Like you're still going to have to, work with the output and get it to a place where you want it to be. But I have no major concerns with that very intentional approach to use. But I think when you throw a full contract into a tool and expect it to give you really solid results, that you're not going to have to be really closely involved in it, I don't think we're there. And I think it is a risk to the individual attorney to be too reliant on what the results are and miss really critical information.
Do you feel like, though, we have attorneys that are falling into two complete opposite ends of the spectrum? So we're reading like the legal press, the legal news. It's like, I can't believe they filed a brief without checking anything, right? Crazy, stupid citations, wrong hallucinated stuff, blah, blah, blah. On the one hand, you're like, lawyers, what are you thinking? So is that just pure incompetence? What's wrong with you? And then you've got, of course, the other lawyers like, I don't trust AI. I don't want AI touching my contracts.
Yeah.
What in the world? How are we in such two completely different places? I think one is just incompetence, though. Sorry, I'm just going to say.
I mean, we are in a weird world of extremes anyway. So it's like hit like this. I just totally agree with that. Both sides, either a lot of use or no use whatsoever. And I've talked to a lot of attorneys on each. I think like just like with any tool, why would you not use it intentionally, purposefully, thoughtfully, mindfully?
Right.
I think there are people out there. I just don't think they're talking about it as much, or maybe I'm just not seeing it. And that is concerning to me, because I think that's where there is a benefit. That's where there's a way that people can really be helpful to each other, and like how they prompt and all of that. But
yeah, like
even I was going to say, my biggest concern is where, in a contract, various clauses affect each other.
Yep.
And if you rely on AI to kind of call that out for you, I think you're just going to miss it where we are today.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's the thing. It's that interactive interaction between the words on paper. And I just don't think it's there yet either. I think it's a great first pass. I think it's a great assistant. You still don't know what the assistant didn't catch. You still don't know what the assistant was confused by until you have to read the work. And then you have to get into a whole training consistent approach to it so that you're teaching it, because it's not, it's not going to operate the same way twice, which, by the way, here's an aha moment I had. I'm just going to say this too, which I'm like, here, unpopular opinion. Maybe generative AI is not the right solution for contract review, because, hear me out on this. The concept of generative, right? It is generating answers. I don't want it to generate anything. Like freshly out of law school, don't be creative with the words yet. How many limits of liability sections have you seen to know which one would apply? Now, of course, the argument for AI is like, well, it's seeing 10,000, right? With zero context around those 10,000. But I don't want it to generate, like, if I'm about to hand off some self-help enablement to the business, I don't want the business and my enterprise to use generative AI solutions. I want it to use what I've created as my, where was it? You see the red, yellow, green, or the yes, no's, however you design your contract negotiation guide, which we've helped them create lots of versions of those. But if it's not New York jurisdiction, I'd like you to put in Delaware. That's it. Don't be creative. Don't come up with a third, or you have to escalate to me. But I don't even know if Gen AI is the right way to go for the actual review, lifetime edit negotiation of contracts. Not like looking back and looking for what's it called? It's trends and themes, but like lifetime review. I don't know if I want them to do that.
And I've personally seen this get tricky, because when you're, as you know full well, when you're implementing tech, like, you can't possibly think of every possible solution out there. No. So I've seen tools be like, major red flag, this doesn't say Delaware for governing law. That's not in an NDA, for example. Right. That is not a major red flag. Like, let everybody calm down.
Everybody calm down.
That's not what I'm concerned about. It's interesting to know, but like that kind of, I think as a lawyer, as a professional, whatever, you're prioritizing various things. That level of prioritization, I'm not seeing work super well in these tools either. So I don't know. Again, I think you take things for what they are. I do think that it will only get better, and things will change over time, and my answer will be different 3 months from now, maybe. I don't know.
Probably in an hour or two. Are you kidding? This stuff changes so fast. We have 2 minutes left. I have this crazy thought I wanted to get your reaction to. So I'm equating AI with the next iteration of what outsourcing was, I'd say about 12, 15 years ago, right? Okay. So LPO, ALSP, whatever. Outsourcing of legal work, lifetime real legal work, right? Handing off contract review.
Yep.
And AI just the next down the chain of options you have of like very expensive lawyer, paraprofessional contract manager, outsourced service provider, AI. To me, they're all they all pluses and minuses, but isn't it just another resource more than it is like a hardcore piece of technology I need to pick?
Yeah, I do think you have to treat it as a tool, as a resource in some way, because I don't know that it has the same, like I could go to an ALSP and say, I've given you this context. I trust you to negotiate this contract as overflow for me, for example. Like, I'm going to feel confident that they're going to do that for me. AI is not going to do that for me, or it might, and I'm not happy with it. But I think you have some tools that are, that support the work you're doing to make it better, but you still have to be heavily involved, and other tools and resources that you maybe can be more hands-off. So I don't know that I put them in the same bucket, but the concept is there.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the answer for
absolutely. And you're right. They're definitely different buckets. I just like to be frisky with the way
I love it.
Try to get people to think. All right. Last few seconds, anything, tips, trips, ticks, whatever. Final words on CLM tech and automation.
I'm going to give you my own hot take, actually. I I think we've seen so many years where CLMs are trying to apply ideas, concepts, features that apply to everyone or as many people as possible. I think over the next few years, we're going to see more and more custom solutions for people because we've had so many people be unhappy and having to settle for what the CLM can and can't do for them, as opposed to building something that actually fits their immediate needs. So I feel like we're going to move more toward the services side of things.
Okay, we heard a prediction there from Lily. Thank you so much, Lily. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your Friday and weekend. And we're going to do a part 2. I know we will, because we're going to have to. So
come back. I love this. Love you guys at ILG. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So great to be here.